The Proffessors is brought to you by Blackboarder.com. They've got everything from pro player articles, competitive prices, podcasts, Pro Tour coverage, videos, and even a point system that rewards you for just posting on the site. We've got new members joining every day and new features being added and updated, so go check out Blackboarder.com today.
I guess we'll have to eat this boring oatmeal.
It's a trap!
It's my talk, God is my talk, God is my talk.
Last week we missed the first show in quite a while, but I plan to pick up where we left off on M10. Despite the sealed format being so absurdly bomb-based that every game in Boston seemed to end with someone flashing a Baneslayer Angel, the opposing player playing the 2 scoops, and the original apologizing to the opponent and the $30 card for such a dull game, standard in M10 has been one of the most interesting formats I've ever seen since before the domination of the Fed. Yes, we've heard that before. But what's winning? What should you bring to the PTQ? And what in the hell's with the floating boulders? We'll delve into all that with possibly actual delve and more. So let's draw. Five-color control continues to dominate because of its ability to take the best cards in the format and jam them into a deck as it's been doing for the last year. However, that's not to say there isn't retaliation. While Ananthomancer isn't the annihilating spell Wizards had wanted to shut down this calamity of the color pie, with the assistance from Lightning Bolt and enough beatdown, it came to trump many of 5-color decks. But this was a couple of weeks ago. Since then, the white-blue control decks were built to have a slight advantage over 5-color and Jund, taking down Nationals in the UK, and Elves combo came along to win in Russia. So while most matchups are in the range of 50-50, what can you play in this meta to one-up everyone else? My answer is a rogue deck. Because of the rogue deck's capability to surprise the opponent and make your opponent unsure about what they can and can't play around, gives you the same capabilities 5-color does when your opponent could be playing around an Esper Charm or a Cryptic Commands, a Celestial Purge, or a Doomblade. And at a lower level, like a PTQ, where the fields tend to be more aggro, you need an advantage like this. And after all, since the release of Shadowmoor, cards have had an increasingly equal value in the field and merely depend on ever-evolving strategies. Also, if you've got the testing in for the rogue deck, you're rewarded not only with your cards that beat a higher percentage of the metagame, but with your newly found ability to use sideboard notes. Sure, it takes a lot of testing, a lot of spot-on speculation, and a lot of balls, but decks like Jund Mannequin and Time Thief combo have proven it's far from impossible. As for mainstream decks, I'd definitely consider sleeving up this Merfolk list that grinded into Nationals. The deck has an incredible matchup versus 5-color control, and usually a fine one against Elf combo with their ability to counter and prohibit their larger spells, and harms away their smaller guys, but has a slightly more difficult matchup against old-fashioned Revelark, Fairies, and Jund aggro. Don't get me wrong, they're all easily winnable, and I believe the addition of Harm's Way is a blast and has the ability to trump Lightning Bolt and the majority of quick beaters in the deck, including the Ram Gang, whose redirected damage has the potential to turn him down to a 1-1 or kill an Elf. And overall, the deck has no problems overcoming Possessed Bambis and Guttural responses. Also, because of Harm's Way and Sleep, 2 spells that counter the burn and halt the aggro in the least expected ways. As for the small decks to be aware of, you've got the new Fae, also known as Uber Fairies, has just as much potential as Elementals, Elf Rock, Cool Spike combo, and Time Thief combo. That's not to say the decks aren't good, they just factually have enough of the surprise as 5-color control and enough of the pure power as Cool Spike combo. Still playable? Yeah, but you'll have to be innovative. Speaking of innovation, might it be you, Mr. Chapin? I'm sorry, nothing with Pete Chapin this week. But what we have seen are, first, these new extended art lands and booster and fat packs. Does this really matter? Well, it totally lowers the price of unhinged and unglued lands to the proportionate booster pack value of about a quarter. Means that players will more likely highly pick them in packs, and that these lands will no longer be simply turned into proxies in the search for players to have the ultimately pimped out deck. So as I was saying, something that does matter is the upcoming PTQ season. In 2010, you will not only have the regular 3 seasons, one of which was extended by a week, but also the Magic Online season. The details for this haven't really been foreclosed yet, but this is a lot bigger than people are making it. Because while spikes can by no means be stereotyped into being heartless players who are just only in it to win it, the essence of a spike is someone who is in it to win it. And after all, in the case of Magic, the cards just happen to be the medium by which they can get on the tour. It's not always the reason they play. As Conley from the Magic School Bus once pointed out, it's like the difference between spending money on cardboard and spending money on ones and zeros. In one case, you get a physical style thing with which you can play limitless games, have access to about 10 times more cards, and essentially the entire mental game of Magic. On the other hand, playing Magic Online is cheaper, more convenient, allowing you to play whenever you want, and taking hours away from sorting cards through decks. So it'd appear, for tournament play until the Pro Tour level, the ones and zeros are the answer. And yet... On the speculation side, we've got 5 preview cards and a plausible theory of the theme and basis of all of Zendikar, but I'll get to that in a second. Something no one seems to have pointed out yet in N10 was the very small yet very significant Stampeding Rhinos. Just a 4/4 trampler, right? Yeah, that looks to be it, but that's the problem. It's just a 4/4 trampling rhino for 5. Why does it matter? Because Grizzly Bears was just a 2/2 bear creature for 2. But the notable difference between bears of the Grizzly and Runeclaw varieties was, of course, that one was regular, while one was mythical. However, Stampeding Rhinos appear to be just regular, right? Well, no. But the only reason it is mythical is because of this flavor text. See, it references Sauron, who is to be not that giant burning eye in the sky, but an upcoming planeswalker in Zendikar. If this is true, perhaps Stampeding Rhino is one of the few harbingers in M10, and being that MX is now between 2 specific blocks and coming around every year, they not only have the technical capabilities and new player acquiring capabilities Rosewater has mentioned a billion times, but also the ability to act like a mini time spiral and future sight with cards like Rock's Pikemaster that acts as a transitional card from Shard's block, and with cards like the aforementioned Stampeding Rhinos, which I expect we'll be seeing soon in Zendikar. We're finally onto the spoilers, but I've got to note, the first one is...
Admiral, we have enemy ships in Sector 47! It's a...
No, wait, I like this one better.
I guess we'll have to eat this boring oatmeal.
It's a trap!
So, as I was saying, the most plausible theory for the theme, and probably a little of background for Zendikar, appears to be that the mana is not bestowed in parts of the Zendikar world below, but is rather hung up in these floating obelisks above. Once in a while, these obelisks will release mana in a violent explosion, allowing the immediate but not prolonged accessing of mana. This theory appears to be supported flavorfully by the booster box art, and the extended art of what appears to be a mana-deprived plains here, and a mana-rich one here. A mana-deprived island here, and a mana-rich one here. Swamps soaking up the obelisks of mana here, and swamps that are shriveling here. And, well, you get the idea. Anyway, as for the mechanic side of the theme, this means cards will either have alternate casting costs, or have different effects based on the state of the turn, of the graveyard, or of the game. In the case of Whiplash Trap, this means a limited playable spell that can bounce creatures. It might be good screwing with the tempo of a couple of aggro decks, but because of its trap cost reduction restriction only being on opponents, it doesn't offer the ability to, in a blue-white soldier mid-range, bounce the Captain of the Watch and go crazy the next turn. As for the Hideous End, it's basically a Doomblade, and depending on how the metagame rolls out, if there's a mono-black control deck, we'll see this, otherwise it's 4 more Doomblades. Core Sanctifiers is noticeable for its kicking ability as the new Wispmare, and diversity in a sideboard. And as Svi Moskowitz pointed out at Boston, in order for a limited format to be successful, it has to find something to do with extra mana, which Zendikar seems to be doing just fine. As for the Baloths, this will be such a sadly insane bomb in Limited that if it's not immediately killed, you're utterly finished. If you deal with it the turn after it comes into play, you're looking at another 4/4, assuming the set doesn't have a viable Rampant Growth style effect. After 3 turns, you're staring death in the face. For this reason, Landfall has such a high potential to be broken if put on any card with a mana cost of less than 4. As for Beast Hunt, it's not just to dig up a creature or 2. It might also have function as a delve trick that we'll just have to wait and see if it really is coming back. So until next week, this is Anthony Palmario, tapped out for now, but will on tap soon.